Thank you very much for still staying with us right here on Plus TV Africa. It's still our Inauguration Day special, and now our focus is on the economy, Marianne.
Yes, it is. Of course, we know that nothing actually functions without the economy, being put in perspective. So we're talking about budgeting, we're talking about planning, and all of those things. But since last year, we really can't tell if the budgeting and the planning people have been working together in consonance, because there are lots of things that have gone south. And hey, we have the CBN governor back, and as governor for a second tenure. But we have in the studio this afternoon to explain more to us on this issue, because like I said earlier, and I'm terrible with my numbers, but Osilama Okufu, he is a development economist and a managing consultant. He's here in the studio joining us on Matters Arising. It's good to have you join.
Thanks for having me.
I have been able to pick your brain, and I know that you're very smart, so you're going to give me all the answers to my questions.
I'll do my best.
So we'll start by asking, the economy is one of the things that Mr. President campaigned on and promised he was going to deal squarely with. Can we say that he's done anything that we can actually applaud?
If you put it that way, you're actually putting me out there, you're boxing me into a corner. Every government tries to achieve something. Of course, the overall intention is to better the living standard of the people. I don't think there's any government that comes in with the intention of, not doing well. Patriotism actually drives the process of governance. But overall, I would say not much has been achieved.
Okay, now let's talk about our journey so far from 2015, going into recession, coming out of recession, still lingering in the aftermath of the recession. Now, currently we have inflation rate at about over 11%. We have GDP growth rate pegged somewhat for this for the last quarter at 2.1%. Really, now, when we talk about moving the country forward, we've seen so far successively slow and bad implementation of our budgets, and that's also affected the turnout that we've had in our economy. So doing an assessment of the last 4 years and what should be expected now, just as the president has also signed in the new appropriation bill, what should we expect this time around in terms of better implementation?
Well, I was actually going there, I was building to that. The economy is not presently in a good place, straight out. If you look at the World Poverty Index, there's a clock that is running right now. We have about 98 million Nigerians that are falling out of the safety net, in poverty.
And I think it goes in seconds or minutes, every minute.
Exactly, so it's counting, and that's quite huge. It's problematic. It's to a large extent as a result of certain policies, that are being implemented, certain programs that are being pushed that are not working. Just a few days ago, the wife of the president came out and slammed, this school feeding program and the trader money program that the government, is executing and not executing properly, because there's no trickle-down effect.
But this has been in the news forever, especially the school feeding. People have been screaming blue murder about this forever. Well, she just woke up to it. Well,
she didn't just wake up to it. I mean, she has actually been quite critical. Funny enough, of this government, not because she means any harm, but because she's a mother.
Of course.
She wants the best to happen. In 2018, Nigeria lost 36% of foreign direct investment, and all these are a fallout of policies that are not working well for investors. We are an emerging economy, and we need foreign direct investment. So when you have 36 people out of 100 saying we don't want to do business with these people, that's quite a lot, And then again, like I've heard somewhere else yesterday, we are tending more towards socialism, and it's not right. Socialism as an economic approach didn't work for the Soviets. That's why today you have Russia and the other Balkanized states. We are all witnesses as to what's happening right now in Venezuela. So what I would actually advise, setting an agenda of sorts, is that the government should do a 360-degree turnaround and move away from that approach. We should focus more on capitalism. Again, too, just to give a general synopsis, our macroeconomic policy should tend more towards fiscalism than monetarism. We are, again, to, like I said, a frontier economy. We are developing. This whole idea of inflation targeting by the central bank or the monetary policy committee is emasculating growth, because it's all about making a trade-off between inflation and growth, where growth again snowballs into employment and things like that. You know, so when you approach it from the perspective of, you know, contractionary policies, both on the fiscal and the monetary on the monetary side, you know, issues of unemployment, of course, will emerge, right? So those are issues we need to look at. Again, too, why the CBN is increasing the MPR, though they reduced it just by 5 basis points after a very long time. Cash reserve ratio is still pretty high, right? The government itself is not spending so much, and taxation is high. If you recall, in 2018, taxation contributed the second highest to our GDP, which is the first in Nigeria. But you see, there's a flip side to that. It means you're squeezing, you're emasculating businesses, and probably that's the reason why, like I said, some people balked and said, well, we're not coming in. Okay, you know, so for me, the approach I think we need to adopt is there should be massive government spending, especially in the area of capital expenditure, not recurrent, right? Such that jobs are created, so that our infrastructures are improved and developed upon, right? Okay. And then less of recurrent expenditure.
I just want to be a bit practical. I'm, again, bad with the numbers, but I understand certain things. So I hear that government threw a lot of money at agriculture without really looking at the big picture. They gave a lot of small-scale farmers a lot of monies, but then they did not necessarily look at how they could have been able to benefit from. Let's say we've gone past mechanized farming now. The world all over is doing another, you know, modernized farming, let's call it that. We didn't look at it. And I hear that the output of our rice farmers is just barely about 40% compared to those who are in modernized farming, who would have, in China and the rest of the world, we hear their output on a daily basis is about 60%. So why did we not think of those things? Again, if we have a certain number of out-of-school children, we have a problem there. Why do we not look at that angle and say, let's get more schools out there? That way you educate more teachers. So you have been able to take some people off the unemployment, you know. I'm just thinking, because this is why I'm critical of the planning aspects of the budget and planning. Where are the people who sit down and look at this in perspective before we even start writing the budget? Because for me now, it's a political document, much less than it should have been something that helps us as a country to develop.
Okay, let me just hold brief for the Budget and Planning Ministry, right, and the Budget and Planning Office, because I know some of the people there, actually at the topmost level, they're quite smart. So the issue we have is not about planning, it's about execution. That has always been our challenge. Let me tell you something. If you read the Nigeria's Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, you know, you'll find out that what was projected as at last year was that we would have stopped importing petroleum products because our refineries would have been, you know, turned around, new ones would have been built. Except I slept all through last year and just woke up. Nothing of such happened. It was about execution, okay? So again, too, we need to be careful we don't compare apples with oranges. Let's compare apples with apples. When you start comparing Nigeria and China in agriculture, especially when it comes to mechanized agriculture, you're not being fair. But we're getting there. The truth really is the previous government, the government of President Jonathan, did quite a lot in that field. I must again give kudos to Dr. Adesina. Okay?
Yes.
And then good enough, this government followed through. One of the programs that they are executing in that direction is the Anchor Borrower Scheme and is achieving quite a lot. But don't forget also that there are certain other exogenous factors that are not within the control of the farmers. Okay, there was flooding at some point. That was an act of God. So who do you hold responsible for that?
Okay.
You know? And then again, we mustn't forget the headers.
Of course.
Farmers' crisis in the middle belt. The middle belt is the food basket of this country, and there's been a lot of decimation of farmlands and farmers being killed and people being displaced there.
But that
so those are the issues
but I hear that is not even as high as the food. That we waste more than we have. We don't have a food shortage. What we have is a food wastage because of we don't plan in between where this food is coming from and where it gets to. So we have
no. So essentially, that's what I'm saying. Essentially, you're talking about decadent or even non-existent infrastructure, because most of the food you're talking about now are perishables, right? Tomato, pepper, onions, things that. If you don't store them as quickly as possible, in 2-3 days, they are all perished. Yeah.